Thanks so much for joining us today. I know that it's probably like a busy day for everybody, and we all really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and just to learn a little bit and spend, just like a little quick 45 minutes just to learn a few new things. This is the second webinar of 2020. We did one last week, which was our monthly 101 IG 101 webinar. Um, how many people are new here by a raise of hands? Would love to hear who's new. Awesome. Cool. So many new people. Great. How about like 10 new people? Awesome. Great. Well, I hope that this is one of first of many webinars that you join us. We do these every month. We do them every last Tuesday of every month. So if you'd like to be part of our next webinar, I will be sending a link tomorrow for you to RSVP to that one, including our Planoly 101, IG 101 webinar that we do every month. So that one kind of dives into all the ins and outs and intricacies of the IG planner within Planoly. So just to give you a little bit of more understanding of how our tool works, all the features that are included with it, and then also answer any support questions that you guys may have. If you guys had any questions about how the hashtag manager works or how you use the grid splitter tool, any of that, we'll talk about that within our IG 101 webinar. So I'll send over the link for that tomorrow. And then with this webinar too, I will be sending out a few pieces of literature for you to follow along. There are a few links that I do include within this webinar that are mentioned within in here, so you can check it out all within the Planoly blog. And there is also another one called the General Assembly Objective First Framework. So that one is really, really helpful. I use it through all my marketing strategies, and just like in general with any kind of project that I'm about to take on, it's really kind of great to be mindful of just like this 6-7 step strategy to make sure that anything that you do, be it for 2020, just like just setting yourself in a new mind frame, or with anything that you want to do, just having a better mindset of how to make sure that you're setting, a strategy and intention for what you want, what outcome you want out of your project or strategy, and then utilizing those results that you get in the end to really make sure that they optimize your next project or strategy that you're going to do in the future. So that said, all right, we are going to wait one more minute for a few more people to attend. But again, if you guys have any questions, just make sure that you drop them within the Q&A. I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction. I think it's here. The Q&A box, just drop them in there. I'll be able to answer them at the end of the webinar. Don't put your questions in the chat box. The chat box is more for just general discussion, if you guys have any notes or anything, but any questions, I will be going to the Q&A box and answering them as I go towards the end of the webinar. So how this is gonna run, I'm just gonna be putting up this webinar that we recorded on Friday. It's all new material for you to check out. So make sure to take notes. I'm curious to know how you're looking to set an intention in your social strategy, and just social in general. It doesn't have to be like work related, just like the intention that you're putting in with social for the new year. I would really love to have a discussion about that with you guys. So with that said, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the webinar, and then it'll be about like 28 minutes, and then we'll go into Q&A. All right, so let me just go ahead and play it. So hi again, my name is Priscilla. I am the Director of Marketing here at Planoly, and again, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be chatting about how to set your intention with your social strategy and just social in general this year and beyond. So not to ruminate too much on past dwellings and everything, but it's really important to start off in this kind of mentality with reflecting on 2019 and anything in the past that might be able to give you enough information for how you should create your strategy with intention moving forward. So
Obviously, there's no use in dwelling on the past, and I don't want anybody to feel like, okay, we did this and this didn't work. But reflecting on outcomes and results from past activation strategies and objectives will only help us evolve into the better, content creators, marketers, digital strategists, and master our strategies over time. And I think the purpose of all of this is mastery. Obviously, we're not going to be perfect, and eliminating the mentality that we're going to be perfect is very, very key. I think even in my career itself and as a strategist, I think perfectionism has kind of hindered me and held me back from really creating awesome, campaigns or doing great opportunities for the mere fact that I thought I wasn't going to be great. Even that failure is so much information. So in this, we'll just chat about how you can really use that information, even if you fail, to help guide your strategy moving forward. So first things first, ask yourself, what were some of the things that worked in 2019? Obviously, celebrate all those successes and make sure that if you did great, awesome. That is information for you to know. That worked great. That was a great strategy. All these elements of this strategy worked. So those are things that you want to make sure that you hold on to. But also make sure that you understand what didn't meet your expectations for projects, campaigns, and content that you ran last year. Was it, the partnership wasn't right? Was it the execution that wasn't there? Or it could have been done a little bit better? Were some channels missed along the way? What were really look deep, do a deep dive and understand what could have been done better that, probably didn't, because you didn't do it, it probably didn't generate the best results. And then what exceeded your expectations? Like, obviously you might have had like a goal or set a KPI for a certain campaign or set a certain objective and that was met, but even went beyond. So what kind of went beyond your expectations that kind of leads you to have an interesting take on how the strategies actually work, and how they go beyond what you expected. So I think in order to analyze results, instead of beating ourselves up and thinking, okay, that didn't work, that was a failure, that partnership didn't do so well, we didn't get the emails we wanted, we didn't get the users we wanted, all of these things. We have to really walk into this year with a growth mindset. That is really, really key. And just once you have that growth mindset and allow yourself to know that, okay, we might mess up and that's totally fine. Take every failure as a learning lesson. That is so, so important. And also I've noticed that in webinars and, classes that I've taught, there are people that immediately tell me, well, Instagram is not for me, TikTok is not for me, Pinterest is not for me. Cool, did you test it? If you didn't test it, and they'll usually say no. They just assume that it is a hard no. Unless you've tested it and you can tell me that because you've done it and you failed, that it didn't work, I will believe you. And I think that goes for anything. But if you're outright just assuming that something's not going to work because you assume it's not going to work, then you're probably holding yourself back from an opportunity. And probably, you never know. You might have thought that TikTok wasn't the platform for you or Pinterest wasn't the platform for you. And because you did one test and it actually did really great, it just, went beyond your expectations. So really, don't assume, confirm a hypothesis, and allow yourself to fail if that's the case, but don't just, miss an opportunity for what a platform that could be really great for you. And also, if you didn't learn anything from a failure, then it truly is a failure. No failures, failures don't have to be looked at with negativity. If you didn't learn anything or you didn't take away anything from that, then you failed. But I think once we go with that growth mindset and really understand any of the takeaways that were taken from that situation, then we're in a good spot. So a few of the things one thing that has always helped me with any of my content strategy that I've done, and just anything in general, is what is the intention and objectives that you've set for your business, brand, or content. And one thing that has really helped me is General Assembly's Objective First framework. So we've worked with them a few times, and we teach at General Assembly here in Austin. But they have a really, really great, download, and I'll link it below so that way everybody can kind of like, go through it and really understand how you can apply those tactics into your content strategy moving forward. But start off with these questions. So what do I or my team specifically want to achieve? Why is this goal important to achieve? By when do I need to achieve this goal, and what defines success? The more you ask yourselves questions and then you actually set SMART objectives, SMART being specific, measurable, attainable, or reachable, and then time specific. Then from there, you can really set a goal that's actually going to set yourself up for success. There's a lot of people and a lot of brands that, sometimes just do things to do things. It's kind of like, it's just busy work. And that's great and all, like you're doing things, but you're not actually analyzing the work that you're doing, and you're not even setting goals for what you want to be done. How do you know that certain content is actually working great for you if it doesn't meet a certain ROI or a certain goal or objective that you set from the start? So make sure that there is an objective, a KPI, some kind of metric that you're going to put against everything that you're going to do. If it's not a metric, is it brand awareness? Like how do you measure that brand awareness? Really setting those SMART goals against any objective that you're going to do, and just being really intentional is going to help you be great in this year. So when working with the objective first framework, I really love it because it's kind of a cycle. It just lives on, and it just allows you to think of your entire process from a more big picture of mindset. So step one is, of course, setting those objectives. Set a SMART objective that describes why you're running the campaign and what you hope to accomplish. So key questions to answer include, what customer behavior are you trying to change? What will that do for the business? So just setting that objective. That'll lead you into number 2, defining KPIs. So really setting the metric for what those objectives are and determining the key performance indicators you'll use to evaluate the success of your campaign. So KPIs are metrics that you identify as most important for tracking performance against your stated objective. All KPIs are metrics, but not all metrics are KPIs. So consider, what are the top 3 metrics that address, did we reach our objective? Make sure that you identify that so you can actually have some type of measurable number that you can attribute to that objective to really let you know, okay, we're successful in this or we're not successful in this because we didn't meet these KPIs. Once you've set your KPIs and you've set your objective, it's time to design tactics. So determining how you're going to reach your target audience by asking them, or asking yourself, where does your target customer spend most time online or even offline? What devices, websites, or apps are they using? What motivates them? What tools can you truly, truly tap into to make sure that your message gets across to them? And then, of course, setting the message for those specific channels or tools that you're going to be using to reach to them. It's important to also note that you're not going to use the same message per same channel. You really have to tailor and design, the execution for everything before you actually execute. So some people just do, okay, I'm going to do one post and I'm going to post it to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then that's that. And that's not the strategy to do. So make sure that you understand how your audience behaves in each platform that is relevant to them and cater the message right to that platform. Then, of course, you're going to execute. So putting your tactics into action, into the channels you believe will be most effective for your campaign, based on research that you conducted in helping design your tactics, and then identify the resources and team members that you need to execute this campaign. So obviously you need certain resources. You can't just think of doing something without actually having certain type of resources. Do you need a team to help you behind it? Do you need a videographer, photographer? Do you need a graphic designer to help you create those elements that you're gonna be putting through those channels? Really think about how you're gonna execute it before you even design anything. And then, of course, measuring the outcome. So now the campaign is done. You've already done everything. Now it's time to really sit down and reflect. And the way I kind of try to think of it is, this is just like a full kind of, a whole follow through in terms of how you're executing everything. In the same way that you would, throw a swing when hitting baseball. If you hit right here, it's probably not going to hit a home run, and you're going to get better over time. So you need to make sure that you do a full follow through to make sure that that swing is actually really, really good. So this is that whole follow through afterwards, and measuring your outcomes. So measuring and analyzing your performance as it occurs, and even post execution. And this will help gauge the health of your campaign along the way. A helpful question to ask is, what metrics tell you how you can improve your performance? Obviously, you can look at the great numbers and see, okay, we're doing great, awesome. You can just, it's very easy to just focus on those numbers and call it a day. But it's really important to be critical and just understand, where is there room for growth? Where is there room for improvement? It's not, not celebrating those successes, but always looking at yourself as a constant evolution to make sure that every campaign that you do thereafter is better than the last. And then finally, optimizing your results. So use your results to inform iterations on the campaign that hopefully boost performance. And it's likely you'll find variables you can alter in your campaign that may move the needle in your goals. So it's important to be a little flexible when you are running a campaign, and especially if you are setting certain timelines to ensure that you're on track. If, for example, you're running a quarterly campaign and you start seeing that by the first month in that quarter, you're not really hitting the goals that you've intended for your brand or that campaign, what do you need to do to make sure you get there? Think of a plan B of what you need to change in order to get to that goal at the end of the quarter. So be a little bit flexible and always think on your toes when you're, analyzing or measuring any outcomes, and then optimizing as you go, and even optimizing beyond. So that way, okay, I have a case study for this campaign that I did. These are the successes, and these are, the lessons learned. Apply all of that to your next campaign when you move forward. So along with the Objective First framework, we've actually created 6 tactical ways for you to jumpstart your marketing strategy if you haven't done so already, if you just need some type of idea of how to get started. We actually have a full blog post on the Planoly blog about this, and it's a full downloadable as well, so I encourage everybody to go check it out. It is the Planoly Small Business School, How to Jumpstart Your 2020 Marketing Strategy, if you want to check it out. But just a quick recap on what all of that has. Along with asking yourself all the questions that you're going to be, doing before you set an Objective First framework, or even going through the Objective First framework. These are just a few tactical ways that you can implement that. So number 1 is outlining your goals. That's the very key of it all. Outlining what goals you've set for your gear, either for your brand, for certain campaigns. Get as specific or as narrow as possible, but just set a goal for everything that you're going to do. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really easy to just think of an idea and just do it. And that's great. Like, everybody should just do it. But if you're going to do it, set a goal for it as well. Then use the analytics to develop your content strategy. So like I mentioned earlier, being reflective on those learnings that you've had from past campaigns, or, past content that you've posted, and really using those numbers, and even using any analytics that you have if you have an Instagram business account, to help drive how you're going to be creating content moving forward. Then a next one you can do is identifying new possible partnerships. So using those analytics to see what is resonating to your audience, or where your audience could be, that you could create a campaign that can make sense for them, and see if you can partner with a brand and set what goals could benefit both brands, that you can work together. And then next, taking advantage of your resources and rely on freelancers and existing design tools. So obviously, you don't have to feel like, if you feel like a one-woman show or a one-man show, you have resources. It's really awesome to just, reach out either, in person or on LinkedIn, and find people that you can network with or collaborate with, and use them as resources to really create awesome content that goes beyond what you've already created in the past. And then next, prioritize video content. So this is big for 2020. And obviously, with Instagram really kind of prioritizing IGTV and video alone within the feed, and then with the rise of TikTok, video is very, very key moving forward. So make sure that you are creating content that is relevant to your audience that they can just digest within either of those platforms on YouTube, Twitter, or even Facebook Watch. So make sure that you're tapping into some type of video. The great thing with video is that it is very, very shareable. And the more views you get, the more traction you get, and it does get a lot of engagement. So if you're one of those people that are very hesitant to tap into video because you're camera shy, don't worry, we were too. We had to start with video at one point, and just, it's a matter of really truly getting over it. But if it doesn't work, if you think it doesn't work for you, like I mentioned earlier, if you're hesitant about it and you think that it doesn't work for you, go ahead and test it and understand, okay, it doesn't work for me. And you might be surprised, it might work for you. But until you've tested that, then you won't really know. So make sure to give video a try. I promise you, it could actually, provide a lot of great information and it actually be really successful for you. And then finally, focus on wellness and mindfulness. So this is kind of like the whole emphasis on this webinar. Obviously, we're very, very busy people, and I feel like in the past, even 5 to 10 years, we've glamorized busy. But busy is not really that sustainable. And especially if you're trying to be busy just to be busy, you're not really setting any goals or working with intention. It's important to be mindful of how you're working, how you're creating content, what content you're creating, and how you're delivering that to your audience. And keep in mind that people are being very mindful of how they're, using social media and even using their digital tools to this day. That is the whole reason why, phones are now have like a screen time tracker, so that way people know how much time they actually spend on Instagram or different apps. So with that in mind, with people being more intentional with how they're digesting social media, it's important that you also keep that in mind with any content that you create. So make sure that it's actually worth their time and it's not just something to pass the time. What information is your content actually giving them? Is it inspiring them? Is it offering them some type of value? And when you realize that they're actually, your content is giving more value to your audience with that, then you'll understand that that's actually content that's more shareable. Your audience will be more inclined to save it. They'll be more inclined to share it with their audience. And you'll get a lot more engagement than the passive likes and comments. And you'll get much more ROI on your content strategy. So just to put everything in context, Pinterest CMO Andrea Millard, and I mentioned this in the past webinar last month, but she made a very good point that with any content that you're creating, be it on Pinterest or anything, like any media channel, it's important to stop interrupting and start inspiring. This goes with, content that's just going through people's feeds and it's just, noise in the ether. How are you actually creating content that is inspiring them, that is making them stop while they're scrolling and make them think, wow, like that's really great content. I'm going to save that. I'm going to use that later. Think of how you can inspire them rather than interrupting them and making them think, that's whatever type content. So really focus on inspiring. So with all of these things, it's really important that you put in these tactics and, strategies ahead of time and allowing yourself time to plan ahead to really let you stay on track and, stay on track with your intention. So if you're a small business, you can be scrappy, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to plan ahead of time with the goals and intentions that you set for your business. So planning ahead of time will save you so much time, but it'll allow you to do just a few things that we try to emphasize and allow all of our users to do just as a tool, Planoly as a tool. So one is having a better hold of your work-life balance. Obviously, having a work-life balance is something that we here within Planoly HQ keep very important, but we also want our users to have a very stable work-life balance too. So if you just set a few hours out of one day out of the week to plan out the content for the next 2 weeks, then you're saving yourself so much time. And think of how many times you won't have to think, oh, where am I posting today? Like if you just set auto post, you're good to go. For example, one of our clients, the SIL, which we've done a collaboration with, the social media manager there, Kaylee, she mentioned that, she sets auto post and she goes to sleep by 7 before her post on the SIL has to go live. And she doesn't have to worry about it by the time she's asleep because it's on auto post. So if you are, trying to think of like, okay, my content's going up and I can go to sleep, okay, great. Like, that's the work-life balance that we want you to have. Also limiting uncertainty. So thinking of, I've been in the position before when I was a social media manager that I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what am I going to post today? It's going to be 6 o'clock and I need to post like 3 times a day. And this was when my mentality was like, okay, it needs to be 3 posts a day. It doesn't have to be that. But just making sure that, okay, I know what's going to be posted. I don't have to stress out. I can actually spend more time on things that really do matter beyond just posting what's on the grid or posting what's on social media or Pinterest. And then, focus on the things that matter rather than panicking at last minute. Which kind of leads me into staying consistent. So like I mentioned, I used to think in this mentality that I needed to post 3 times a day because that was the idea of how I needed to post content on Instagram. It doesn't have to be that, obviously, but if you're consistent and you've kind of trained your audience into, expecting certain type of content from you, both in quality and quantity, then you will see growth. And with consistency, you'll see that maybe, if you started creating a content strategy within 3 months and then you kept consistent with it and you had consistent growth, it is because of that consistency. So make sure that I feel like I'm record now saying consistency, but as long as you stay consistent, you'll see some success in that. And then, of course, staying focused. You don't want to I feel like social media can very easily distract us. You pick up the phone and you're scrolling through Instagram or Pinterest or Twitter, and it's just a constant distraction. So you don't have to feel slave to that. Obviously, once you've actually are using social media with an intention, like every time you pick up your phone, you think of it like what that intention you set the minute that you pick up your phone. Are you going to be looking for certain content? Or are you going to be engaging with certain channels rather than just mindlessly scrolling? So staying focused, and it's a hard challenge. Like, it takes a lot of practice. I feel like we're conditioned to just constantly digest content, but if you keep in mind what the intention is every time you pick up the phone and you're staying focused, it'll help you stay focused with any task that you have to do beyond what's on your phone. And then, of course, the peace of mind. So staying, feeling like you don't have to be slave to your phone. That's our goal. For us, it's making sure that if you do plan out your content, you have time for everything beyond just Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. It's making sure that, if you spend time, dedicate 1 day out of your week to just go ahead and plan out your content, then you'll have the peace of mind to do everything else that is, important to growing your business, or, spending time offline too. At the end of the day, it's about being prepared ahead of time and setting boundaries online so you can be more present offline. So hopefully with all of this, you can set more intentions with anything that you do this year, be it for your content strategy, for your business strategy, just for life in general. And I think the big takeaway too is kind of, looking at the new year with a growth mindset, even if you're looking at past, any campaigns that you've done that might have not done so well or did do well. Look at everything from a growth mindset and really set an intention for how you want to create content and grow your brand moving into the new year and beyond. And I think, we'll be on a good track. So with that said, we'll go ahead and dive into the Q&A. So any questions that you may have, just make sure you drop them into the Q&A box, not into the chat box. They will get lost over there. So if you've already put them there, just make sure to drop them into the Q&A, and we'll dive into those questions now.
Okay. So I hope that was really informative for everybody. I do know that a few people asked a few questions, and we can just dive right into it. So like I mentioned, just go ahead and drop all your questions that you might have had into the Q&A. As the webinar was going on, I was dropping in the links for what I mentioned for the General Assembly Objective First Framework, which is a whole PDF. It's like a 12-page PDF that's super great. It's super informative, actually, and you can just download it for free. You just have to put in your email. But it's not, also full disclosure, this is not in partnership with Planoly. I just use it for myself. It's a really great framework just to look at in terms of like setting SMART objectives and then using SMART objectives to the Objective First framework. And Chris says, I don't see the links. I dropped it in on the chat. It should be available to everybody. Does everybody else see the links? Weird. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. I feel like it says to all panelists. So, oh, let's see. All right, let me just send this really quick again. Not sure why I didn't send the first time, but I'm just dropping it in now. If you're curious on how to post, this is it right here. And then the other link I wanted to send to you guys in terms of mental, kind of like, you know, being more mentally conscious, more emphasizing more on wellness and how planning ahead of time will benefit your mental wellness. This is the piece right here. Just drop that in. Can you guys see it now? I hope it works. Okay, great. Awesome. And then I'm dropping in the link for the 5 ways planning will benefit your mental wellness. So great. Awesome. I'm glad that you guys have the links, but definitely recommend, these are all the links that I mentioned and through the webinar, so feel free to check them out. But let's get into questions. All right, so Laura asked, are we able to use Planoly in combination with Like to Know It reward style? I just got approved, not sure if I can combine technology with this app. Unfortunately, we don't have any capabilities to use reward style into Planoly, but if you already have the links of whatever you're using that you're uploading to Planoly, you can use a tool that we have called ShopLink. So you can link anything into your feed. We do have a link in bio kind of feature that is ShopLink, and you just create, put this link that we give you, a custom link in your link in bio. And then from there, you can make everything shoppable using reward style links. And then you can also drive to any traffic site or any website that you want to direct your audience to. And I can actually show you a quick example of how that looks using the Planoly. Actually, I'll show you one of our clients, Refinery 29, that uses this. So let me just share my screen really quick. 1 second. So as you'll see, Refinery 29 actually uses our shop link feature. If you just go to their link in bio, you'll see that their feed looks very much like this. And you don't have to choose every feed, every post on your feed to be clickable, but they've chosen certain posts to be clickable, and this is how our shop link feature looks. You can click for details and visit the link, so that way you can drive more traffic back to your site or a partner site, wherever it may be. You can always drive more traffic, and this is how Refinery 29 drives a lot of traffic back to their sites. They also, while they don't sell anything, you can actually tag certain products within your feed to make it shoppable. And we'll show you our Sanders feed. So Brandy, she uses ShopLink as well. So you can actually go to her feed here. And this is her feed. You can see what's clickable. So for example, if we click this post right here, she's made her own jewelry shoppable. So if you have, say, reward style links, or you have your own shop and you want your feed clickable, you can do that as well, just to drive to anything that you want and have people buy more from you. So that is our shopping feature. So I hope that helps. That's kind of like how you would use it. All right. So Marikaya asks, I've noticed that sometimes when I go into Planoly, it will delete from Planoly. Oh, when I go to posts, it will delete from Planoly. I have to copy and paste onto IG. Is there something I'm doing wrong? I feel I would need more context as to what are you, yeah, I need more context as to what's deleting, or are you posting from Planoly to Instagram and it deletes? Um, yeah, if you can give me more context to that, then I can probably help. If not, I can direct you to support. They're super, super fast to respond and can help you with any issues that you may have. So, all right. And she's also asking, can you define KPIs a little bit more? Of course. So, like I mentioned in the webinar, there's objectives, and objectives are kind of what you want to set your company or your strategy to do. The KPIs, the key performance indicators, are more substantial, more things you're going to be measuring that are quantitative, that you can measure your success for the objectives that you've set. So for example, my objective is to grow my presence on Instagram and really grow my social. How am I actually setting KPIs for that objective? Is it me growing each quarter 10% for my Instagram or my Facebook, whatever channel it may be? Making sure, is it, having at least an 8% engagement rate with all of my posts that I'm creating? If it's not that, then how am I going to pivot to make sure that I'm meeting that objective? KPIs are kind of the very quantitative stats that you're always looking at to make sure that you're setting those goals, or that you're keeping on track with those goals and objectives that you set for yourself. So I hope that clarifies. It's really kind of like the numbers that you're looking at. So like I mentioned, engagement rate, is it percentage in growth for your social channels? Is it, revenue per follower that you have, or revenue per client that you have? Things like that you could really measure to really understand where you're at and how you're performing. All right. And somebody asked, it was anonymous, can Planoly auto post video? Unfortunately, due to Instagram's API, we cannot auto post video. That is just because of Instagram. We are an official Instagram business partner, and in order for us to make sure that we stay on track with making sure that we're staying on track with their guidelines and to stay as an official Instagram business partner, we do have to, unfortunately cannot allow auto post to video while planning on Instagram, Planoly. So what we do allow is that, if you are going to be auto posting anything, it does have to be a photo, and it has to be in the photo guidelines, either a 4x4 or 4x5 photo that meets Instagram's picture requirements for what can be uploaded. So essentially anything that you have to crop within Instagram, if you're uploading natively, then it cannot be auto posted. It does have to meet those dimension requirements, and all of that you can find in the Planoly blog, all of the requirements for auto post. I've said it right there within, yeah, if you're curious on auto post for Planoly, we have a whole description on auto post and the guidelines on what it takes to auto post. And also for auto post, you do have to have a business account on Instagram, not a creator account. So make sure that you also have that. And in that blog post, it answers all of your questions about Planoly auto post. Okay, next question. All right. Sarah asked, can you let us know when we have a webinar on posting process and shortcuts or tips? I run a small agency with 10 accounts. We need some help in making Planoly easier. Of course, we actually have a lot of, we put up a lot of our tips and shortcuts on the blog, on our Instagram, but we can definitely do a webinar about that. I think if you want to know more about how to use Instagram, or at least a Planoly Instagram planner all the way, we do have our one-on-one workshop that we do every month. And next month, I have to double check on the date, but I will send the link tomorrow for you to register if that's of interest to you. You can definitely learn more about how to use Planoly and the ins and outs and everything, but we can definitely do something about shortcuts and tips, probably added as an additional bonus to one of the webinars. So hope that helps. Cool. And Kelly asks, can we access past recordings online? Yes, you can. So if you go to our YouTube, just look up Planoly. We have all of the webinars that we've started recording since last January. So we try to do a webinar every month. I think we just missed August. That was probably the only month that we weren't able to do. But yeah, we have all of our webinars there. If you want to go ahead and check them out, they're all free to watch. And we also have a lot of other instructionals and tutorials about just Planoly in general, which I think probably answers Marikaya's question about tips and best uses for Planoly. So that would probably be the go-to for any of that type of content. So hope that helps. Okay. All right, Sarah asked a really good question. So any tips on auto posting carousels? I know it needs to get pushed manually, but the tagging of partners and hashtags takes so much time that it's easier to just manual post on my own. Any tips on that? So like I mentioned, unfortunately, auto post is not capable with carousels or video. So that is something that we can't do, and tagging is only available on auto post. If you auto post. So unfortunately, that is something that we don't have capabilities for right now. And the only reason we don't have capabilities is because of Instagram's API. It doesn't allow it. So for them, until they allow us to do that, then we'll go ahead and we'll be the first to integrate that, of course. But right now, it's unfortunately not something that we do allow. I wish it were easier. I know I post carousels all the time, and I wish I could tag people and how to post it. But unfortunately, it's not something that we have right now. So, but of course, we'll be sure to let you know once it does come live. Okay. So Monica asks, in an area I struggle with, adding hashtags through Planoly app, not knowing how effective or popular a particular hashtag is. So I typically open Instagram on our separate device to search for each hashtag to figure out if it's worth adding to a post. So we don't have any feature right now currently to show you the relevancy of hashtags. And hashtags are very, very nuanced because they are different for everybody. I sometimes get on this question on all the webinars, like, what are the hashtags that I should use all the time? That is a very it's a very vague question because everybody has different niches. Everybody is focused on different categories. So there's not like a group of hashtags that just works for everybody. And just because a hashtag is really, really popular, it doesn't mean that you should use it. For example, the Instagood or InstaFam hashtag has billions upon billions upon billions of uses. Think of it like this way. If you use that hashtag, what truly are the odds of somebody scrolling through that hashtag to see your content when there's like a large volume of content that is coming through that? One, it's not targeted, and two, it's just probably going to get pushed down the funnel because there are so many people using that content. People who are either in fashion or cars are looking at that content, and it's not really relevant to you. So it takes a little bit more homework and understanding what hashtags work for you. So for example, if my focus was florals, I want to make sure that I'm using florals based on, of course, using a hashtag that's just like florals. Florals still has so many uses. So what is more of a specific niche to florals that applies to your brand? Is it minimalist florals? Is it, wedding florals? Is it just, event decor florals? What are those specific niches that are relevant to what you serve on Instagram that your audience is going to be looking for? Because if I am a wedding florist, I'm going to be looking for hashtag wedding florals, not just florals. So you have to do your homework. So I understand why you do have to look on Instagram to look at the use of those hashtags and see who's, what communities are active on that hashtag. You have to look at the communities that are active on that hashtag. But one tool that really, really helps, and somebody from a past webinar had recommended this, I think the tool was displaypurposesonly.com. Yeah, displaypurposes.com, which will probably help you with your hashtag research to figure out if it's worth, adding to a post. I'll probably share it on my screen right now just to give you an idea. Give me 1 second. So this is the tool that somebody from a webinar had recommended, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. But say if I wanted to do wedding florals, wedding floral, let's just do florals. Then this tool will generate all the relevant hashtags to that hashtag. And you can limit it to, if you want to copy everything from this or select manual and just check off what hashtags you want to do, then you can create a, hashtag collection within Planoly based on the hashtags that you found on for display purposes. Obviously, don't use all these hashtags. I still encourage everybody to do a little bit of research and understand what communities are active based on these hashtags and see if that's relevant to what you're adding onto your content. But it does take a lot of research. So just be mindful. It's all about being mindful in what you're actually using within your content instead of just putting hashtag Instagood or Instafam into your caption and then not seeing any results from it. So I hope that helps, Monica. All right, there's a lot of questions coming on. I know we have like 10 more minutes. Okay, a few people are asking, what is the hashtag website? It is displaypurposes.com, and I'll go ahead and drop it on the chat. Sorry that the screen is blurry. I don't know why it's so blurry. No. Great, awesome. Okay, a few more questions before we get through. And again, if I don't get through all the questions, there's a lot. There's like 20 in the Q&A box. But if you have any questions, just make sure to follow us at Planoly on Instagram. We're always answering any questions on there. And if you have support questions, of course, just go ahead and email us at support@Planoly. All right, so let's see. Okay, Sarah asked, should a business be consistently posting content on Facebook when we get minimal engagement? How do you decide when to post? Unfortunately for Facebook, I can't really tell you. Right now, we're mostly focused on Instagram and Pinterest, but what I would say is that consistency, I think it's important to be patient and being consistent whenever you post. So if you've been posting consistently, say if it's like once a post daily onto Facebook, and you've been doing that for like 2 months consistently, and you're still having trouble, okay, it's time to pivot. It's time to see like how you can bring more people back to your page. And with Facebook, it's a little bit difficult because pages have been kind of deprioritized within the whole Facebook feed and algorithm because of the whole Cambridge Analytica situation that happened 2 years ago. But where I find a lot of engagement as a brand is through groups. Facebook groups are honestly kind of the best thing that you could do for your page, for your brand, and really focusing on using Facebook as a community builder rather than just posting content to promote yourself. And that's what we started doing within the Planoly Facebook group. That's where our community can really share, have a forum to talk about social media, to ask questions, where we answer questions as the experts in the space, but they can also tap into everybody else who might be dealing with the same issues. And if you guys are curious, I can definitely send you guys a link for our Facebook group, just to maybe, even if you guys want to have giving you an example of how you could use Facebook groups for your brand. If you guys wanted to have like a post discussion about this webinar, I could start a thread on the Facebook group, and you guys can talk about things I talked about, or things that you wanted to, me to bring up, things like that. We could start a discussion like that on Facebook groups. But you can apply the same concept for your brand using that. It's more about community engagement, but also as a business owner, as somebody on the inside, using Facebook groups to really understand your audience, see where they're at, and then use that information to create content that's more relevant to them. So that way you can use that when you need to pivot if you're not seeing any traction for the content that you're creating, say, consistently through those 2 months. Like, okay, where do you need to pivot? Look into Facebook groups, see what people are talking about, and see how you can create content based on the conversations that they're having to bring more people back to your page. So I hope that helps a little bit, Sarah. All right, I'll go ahead and answer 2 more questions. Oh, this is a good question, Sofina. I hope you're still here. But Sofina asks, what are some of the best practices for reposting content from other Instagram accounts? Should we ask for permission? Should we avoid having a lot of reposted content? So I think in terms of like the balance of user-generated content, it's not much reposted content. Is we like to refer to it as UGC, user-generated content. You want to have it like a 70-30, so 30%, or sorry, 60-40, 40% being user-generated, and then 60 being your own original content. You want to make sure you're diversifying so that way you can, shout out people within your community that are creating content that's relevant to your brand and to your audience, just to continue building on that user-generated content and community aspect. But whenever you're going to be using user-generated content, you should always, 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 always ask. I've witnessed instances where brands don't ask, or other people don't ask, and they just repost and think that just like tagging somebody is enough. And say an artist or a creator or whoever it may be will tell them, can you please take this down because you didn't ask me? And another person who is an influencer, she had a personal story about how a brand had sent her shoes, and so she had posted a picture with the shoes, but she didn't tag them. It wasn't a paid post, so she didn't mention them. And then they used that picture and reposted her. And so she's like, hey, I noticed that you guys, thanks for sending me the shoes. There wasn't any guarantee that I was actually gonna like tag you guys on the post. It was just like a picture that was shared on my stories. If you're gonna be reusing my content, I usually charge a premium for any brands that use my pictures on their Instagram. I can definitely send you guys an invoice, but if that's not the case, then just please take my photo down. So unless some influencers will, claim their value. So don't think that it's not going to happen to you if you're a small brand or somebody with a low following. Always, always, always ask. It's just internet courtesy. Just ask for permission. So hope that helps, Safina. Okay, and another question from Madison. Can I add the shop link to old posts I've already shared on my feed? Yes, you can. That's a beautiful thing about shop link, is that if there's any post that you've already had in the past that you want to link out to, you can definitely add that to your shop link feed and link out absolutely everything that you've already posted. Say even in the future, you can set it up for auto post too. So you don't have to worry about, okay, I need to post this manually through Planoly. As long as you have shop link and you have a link set for what you want to post, then you're good to go. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. Okay. Sorry, a lot of questions about auto post, but we don't, let's see. Oh, let me go back. All right, so Monica, one more area that I would like to find ways to save more time. I have added posts with multiple pictures, but won't allow me to schedule in advance. Do I always need to send myself pictures and upload them directly from my computer for multiple posts? I have set reminders to go manually. Sorry, I have to set myself reminders to go manually post them. So if you have a carousel post, like multi-picture post, um, you can't schedule in advance. You have to give, like, we do allow you to schedule, but the only thing is that it's not allowed to auto post. So we do give you a reminder with a push notification so you can post that multi-carousel post, but you don't have to send yourself pictures um, from your computer or from your phone to your computer. Whatever you post on upload via the Planoly app or Planoly desktop will reflect on either platform. So if you're going on mobile and you're posting, uploading a carousel on mobile, it will show on desktop and vice versa. So you don't have to send yourself anything within your computer or your phone. Um, you will get the notification for the multi-post, and we'll send you through the push notification and the full motion of uploading to Instagram. So you shouldn't have an issue. I hope that clarifies. But if you have any support questions, I know that there was a few support questions. Again, we do have our Instagram one-on-one webinar that we host every month where we answer any support questions live. Usually this webinar is just focused on strategy, but we will be more than happy to answer any questions on Instagram at Planoly if you want to go ahead and follow us, and any of the other support questions, support at planoly.com. But yeah, I think and I think another thing that I want to emphasize is that if you are researching hashtags, I definitely encourage everybody to use the hashtag manager. If you haven't done so already, it's one of my favorite features and one of our best features that we've had. We have so many features, guys, and I would recommend going through the Planoly blog. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, I'll go ahead and send the link for next month's Instagram 101 webinar. That just goes through the entire Planoly Instagram planner and just showing you how to use everything. We do have a lot of features that are just set to make your life a little bit easier so you can use social media a little bit more mindfully, and just be more mindful with your social strategy so you're not, turning your wheels on and off, and, just want to make you work smarter, not harder. So with that said, I'll go ahead and sign off. Again, thank you everybody for spending this past hour with me. This webinar will be replayed, so I'll be sending out that link tomorrow, along with all the links and literature that I mentioned within the webinar. So keep an eye out for that. But again, if you have any questions, direct them to support at Planoly or Instagram at Planoly. And hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks, everybody.